Okay. Hello everybody, I am very happy to be here today in your very nice country. And I am already in love with South Africa and with you shark. It's very, very beautiful. And I hope that South Africa invite me again for scuba diving, not to work. Okay. So thanks for giving me this very important opportunity. But before to start, I would like to be honest with you. I don't speak English very well. I hope that you understand my presentation. If you don't understand, don't worry, stop me. Max is my friend, help me. But the big problem is at the end when you speak to me. Okay, because you speak in English, but I understand in African. Okay, so speak slowly. Okay, and probably I can understand. We speak about two different diseases that can occur when we performed several dives in breathable diving, but also in scuba diving. Okay, is more frequently in free diving, but also in scuba diving. The first one is the pulmonary edema in free diving, or lung squeeze, if you prefer, or hemolysis in free diving. Okay, the clinical aspect is very easy. We usually, at the end of training, we have coughing, chest discomfort, and very, very often we have hemolysis. Hemolysis is when we have blood in the saliva. Okay, but if you found blood in the saliva, are you sure that this blood comes out from the lung and not for the nose, for the mouth, for another part? Okay, so it's for this that is very, very important that we have also difficulty in breathing, because difficulty in breathing is the proof that the problem is the lung and not in another part. Okay, so when we made the research, we wait that some team have a problem and we can research. Okay? But in this case, we wait, and one day, I am also a free diver. Myself have a very big problem. The name is my name. Okay? This is my lung. Okay? In this day. And for the not medical people, okay, all this part is the lung, and usually this part is completely black. Okay, but in this case you can see a lot of white. This white is fluid that I had in my lung, not in my artery, in my vessel, but in my lung. And in this case we have several difficulties in breathing. Okay. So, at that moment I started to study this problem, okay? And I performed one investigation, an epidemiological investigation, to discover a lot of people are involved in this problem. And we found that 26.4 free divers is involved in this problem, okay? Is high number or low number for you? Is very high number, because this is the typical situation of free diver. 4 divers around one rope waiting to start. If this data is correct, one of them are positive to the problem. Every time that we go on the sea, one people around one rope had or will be the problem. And we started to investigate if we found some correlation between the positive subjects and some situation. For instance, the biometrical and amnestic data. Sex is gender, obviously. There is a mistake. Tobacco, weight, height, but we didn't find any correlation between this. But we found 2 important correlations. Okay, I show you all the steps because it's very difficult. 10 years ago, I haven't any other information about this. We found one correlation with the personal record of the divers. So, if you go very deep, you have more problems. Okay, but we found also one correlation with difficulty in ear equalization. So, difficulty in ear equalization is here, and the problem is in the lung. It's not easy to understand why we have this correlation in the first time. In my personal situation, I have the problem when I remove an anchor 40 meters depth. I arrive, take the anchor, very muscle effort, and I have the problem. So we have 2 points now: difficulty in equalization and muscle effort. Sorry? Yes, Valsalva maneuver, really, the free diving is very, very rare that we use Valsalva maneuver. Because when we go down, okay, in this position, it's very difficult to translate air from this part, the lung, to this part, the hair. And we use another maneuver and move only in this part of the body, okay, to compensate, without any effort. But when we have difficulty in equalization, very often we stay several times in this situation, we try, and the pressure in the lung increases. Okay? Like when I perform the effort to remove the anchor. So, fortunately, we know that the pulmonary edema is very frequently also in other sport. In other sport. For instance, in swimming, one that performed very, very hard training, or in high altitude. In high altitude, the situation is different, but in the lung, we have several situations that when we go down, for different way, but we have similar situation. And we think that, as in other sport, the problem is that we have an increasing pressure in the capillary in the lung, and this increasing pressure causes an ultrastructural modification, and the fluid pass across inside the alveolar. Okay, but this is one hypothesis, and we need proof of this. We need to have the confirm of this. For this, we performed several tests. So, Valsalva maneuvers is published that we can increase the pressure inside the lung. So, as we can confirm that an increase in pressure in the lung is the cause of the problem. For instance, we can use the ultrasound, because it's not easy. If I ask an ethical committee, okay, we can perform one test inside the lung for diving. No. Can I perform one test with RX? No, because it's dangerous. But if you use ultrasound is similar to the Doppler, is no problem for safety, and we can use. And if we put one probe in your lung, you don't see nothing because we have air. But if you have water, fluid, you can see this. Probably you don't see, but this artifact that we call comet. Okay? So, obviously, if the problem is linked with an increase in pressure, the increase of pressure is a progressive phenomena, okay? And the comet increase progressively. Okay, we went to the Red Sea, Maldives, Red Sea, it's a good work. Okay, and try to perform this test after diving, okay, in constant weight. In constant weight, you go down and come back using your muscle. We have 2 different variables: muscle effort and also the increase of ambient pressure. Do you understand? Okay, because you move your hands here, okay? Okay, we found, really, an increasing comet in all the divers, in the positive subject that have edema, but also in the negative. Obviously, in this case, lower, but we have. And this is the first proof that the problem is progressive. When the pressure increases, something have little water, something have a lot of water, but the problem is progressive. But But in this case, we have two different variables. So we went to the swimming pool and tried to perform a similar test. Okay, no, sorry, we are in the sea, but we use one machine, one device to go down and to come back without any muscle effort. In this case, we have only the change of ambient pressure, okay, and the comet increase. So we have one data. The problem is the ambient pressure. But we went to the swimming pool. And in the swimming pool, the comets increase also when we perform the dynamic apnea. And in dynamic apnea, we haven't an increase in ambient pressure. We are in a swimming pool, but we have a muscle effort. So the problem is that two of these situations increase the problem. And we have together when we go down in free diving. And we have an increase in comets also when we perform static apnea. Do you know static apnea? You stay without any movement, okay, at the surface, and we stay, and you breathe all, finish. In this case, we haven't any increase of ambient pressure, we haven't any increase of muscle effort, but the comets increase. Why the comets increase also in this case? Because when we perform the static apnea, we stay a long time, and at the moment arrive the diaphragmatic constriction. And this diaphragmatic constriction is a way that increases the pressure in the lung. So the problem from the free diving is different than in swimming pool, swimmer, for instance, that we have all these situations. And if we also take an anchor, we have another problem again, okay? The comets didn't increase, only when we perform the apnea, okay, but without diaphragmatic constriction, okay? And we stop before in swimming pool. In this case, we haven't an increase of comets. So, in the other field, in high altitude, for instance, the researcher found that there is a genetic predisposition to this problem. And we try it also. In free diver is the same. We studied two different enzymes that involved in the regulation of blood flow. So is involved in the control of pressure. Is the link perfect for our investigation. We studied, this is one of these enzymes. This enzyme is the enzyme that produces NO. Then O is one molecule important to control the vessel. We investigated one specific point, the point G894T, and this polymorphism is frequently, it is normal in every people. Okay, you can have this variant on this variant, okay? And in normal life, we haven't any problem. But if you ask an increase of performance, okay, this way is more, well, than this way. In this case, we have one NO that lower 50% of this. So, if our consideration is correct, the people with this part is more positive than these people, okay? We try, and in fact, the result is very clear. The bad genes is TT, and the people with TT are more frequently positive to the problem. Now we are sure that the problem is linked with an increase of pressure in the lung. Is 10 years of research to arrive at this very easy result. We investigated another polymorphism and we found the similar result and also the angiotensin converting enzyme. Now, there are some people, very unfortunately, that have all the three bad genes. Okay? And look this, these people are positive every time. Every subject is positive when they have the 3 bad genes. So this is important because this test is very easy. Okay, you use the cotton fioc inside the mount. You take some cell in the mount, and the test costs €100. I don't know in your money. But it's very easy, not expensive. Now I know if you are predisposed or not predisposed to the problem. Okay? And this data agree with the population that are living at high altitude. In high altitude, the population is selected for the good genes, and very similar selection that we have in freediving. Okay? So we have this important information that confirms the probability that the problem is linked with an increase in the lung. So, if I know the pathogenetic mechanism, I know that has resolved the problem. Okay, it's needed that we haven't an increase in pressures in the lung. It is possible, but before to show you this. We have another way. If I want to perform the genetic test, I can use this technique, the flow-mediated dilation. So, use ultrasound. I can put the ultrasound in the specific artery, the brachial artery, and I can perform that measurement of the diameter of this artery. This diameter is linked with the disponibility of NO. Okay. It's very easy, not invasive test, and you can perform in 2 minutes. Very, very easy. Okay, this is the flow. And we found that the result is similar. Genetic test and flow-mediated dilation, in this case we have the similar result. So, how we can resolve the problem? Because when I had this problem, I stopped my activity towards freediving because it's still very, very difficult in breathing. Okay, and I think that blocked my performance for 6 months, 1 year probably. At that moment, I performed a competition and I stopped because it's not possible. Every time the problem is apart in a few meters. Okay? In this case, 40 meters, 50 meters, 20, 5 meters is impossible to perform the freediving. Okay? I stopped, I performed this study, and I think, okay, if the problem is an increase of pressure in the lung, I can think something about resolving the problem. So, the first is easy, to avoid stress in equalization, because it increases the pressure in the lung. Okay, one is easy. Avoid the diaphragmatic constriction, because it is clear that it is linked with an increase in water. Oh, it's easy, but 10 years ago is not clear this, okay? And we go down, especially for spearfishing, and stay at 40 meters for 1 minute with several diaphragmatic constriction, okay? So if you are not predisposed, no problem, but if you are predisposed as me, you have to avoid this situation. Muscle effort, okay, like the anchor, but we think something more important. When the people have problem in high altitude, okay, the solution is easy. Go up very quickly. 100 meters today, 300 meters tomorrow, okay, and have an adaptation of the situation. We can have a similar situation if we perform the 4 or 5 warm-up before to go very deep. Okay? 10 years ago, I was in the team of Umberto Pellizzari. I don't know if you know Umberto Pellizzari, a very important recordman in Italy. Okay, and at that moment, we performed one shallow dive, 40 meters for you, okay? And after, we go down, okay? Now, I performed 4, 5, 6 dives in a few meters of water, 4 meters, 5 meters, okay? In this case, the blood goes into my lung and comes back quickly. The NO is released, as when you performed warm-up before to play football, for instance, for the muscle. It's the same concept, okay? And in this case, we haven't problem. Think that 8 or 6 years ago, we performed one test during an instructor course. 80% of the divers have one accident during the course, because it's very strong. You need to go 30 meters deep several times, okay, without any recovery in surface. It's very strong, and we have 80% of problem. 2 years ago, we performed a similar course, but we asked to the participant to perform the warm-up. We have only one incident, only because these divers go at the bottom with a machine, and when they arrive at the machine, have one problem, and try to take the machine up 40 or 50 meters step, and in this case have the problem. Only one on respect with 80% is very important, this point. Okay? So another is clear. Okay. Another important disease that can occur, especially in spear fishing, is Taravana. Do you know Taravana? The name? Okay, Taravana is a very particular disease. The name Taravana is a Polynesian term that means madness. Okay, and there is several cases of Taravana, and the symptoms is very similar to SCUBA DCS. Okay, you can have hemiparesis, problem in the viscus, sensory loss. Is very similar, not to DCI. To DCS there is a mistake. Okay, so all the research think that the problem is similar. If it is similar, we have all this paper around this aspect. Okay, but nothing of this paper show clearly the bubbles, because if the disease is similar, we have to need to found bubble also in free diving. Okay, but at this moment is not. It's similar to DCI. It could be that. Sorry. So we have an nitrogen uptake when we go down, and especially when we stay at the bottom waiting the fish. Okay, and we have a release of nitrogen when we come back at the surface to recovery. Okay, if you have a difference in this point, you can have an accumulation of nitrogen and one bubble. Okay, we have only 2 papers that look for bubble and indicate that maybe we can listen, not see one bubble. It's very easy to understand. Okay, we have another data, another information. Okay, is the gradient factor. Do you know the gradient factor? The gradient factor is how much nitrogen you have inside your body at the end of the divers. We use this to understand. We have one glass and put inside the water. When the glass is full, the gradient factor is 1. Okay? When we have an accident, one DCS, the gradient factor is 1, 0.9 is near to 1. And in fact, now I'll show you one accident in scuba diving. So, in the scuba diving, in this case we have 1.1. Okay? In the other case we have 1.4. Okay? In this case, the divers have a lot of nitrogen. But when we investigated the Taravana subjects, we found, this is one case, this diver performed the divers around 40 meters for several hours, at the end, even on Taravana. In this case, we found that the nitrogen accumulation, calculated with the normal computer, is 0.2. or is very low. It's not possible that these divers have an accumulation of nitrogen. And it's impossible that the Taravana is caused by nitrogen. It's for this. Okay, this is the paper that found one bubble, occasional bubble. And 1 year ago, we went to the swimming pool. In Italy, there is now one swimming pool very deep, 40 meters deep. Okay? And we went to this swimming pool and investigate 4 subjects to try, this is a beta test, it's an initial test, to try to check this bubble. But really, I thought that is not possible bubble in free diving. This data is clear. But we performed the echocardiography, and also we calculated the gradient factor, okay? The amount of nitrogen. But when we performed the test, with my surprise, we found a lot of bubble. All this white point is bubble inside the heart after free diving, not after scuba diving. Yes, okay? This is the right part of the heart, this is the left part, okay? This diver have any symptoms, okay, but have a bubble. And now I think that if you can see very clear the bubble, okay? This bubble are checked and recorded after free diving. So now it's clear that bubble in free diver is possible, and DCS is the same, and Taravana is similar to DCS. But I have another problem, that the gradient factor is not different between the positive and the negative subject. So we can have bubble, nitrogen accumulation is possible, but the algorithm that we use per scuba diving is not to calculate Taravana. Probably is different the way that we take the nitrogen, and for this we can use the normal computer, also if this computer is modified, obviously, but also in this case, don't take the correct information in free diving. We have now, only now, one hypothesis about this is possible, because they think that free divers go down and come back, but without breathing. How is it possible that we accumulate nitrogen if we don't breathing underwater? Okay, but there is one point important. The nitrogen uptake occurs when we stay at the bottom, because these divers stay a long time, 42 meters depth, stay 1 or 2 minutes depth, and come back, recrawl very quickly, and go again. So, in this situation, it's possible that when we stay at the bottom, we have a blood shift. A lot of blood is inside our lung, and a lot of molecular of nitrogen can go from the lung to the vessel, because we have a lot of blood in our lungs. But when we come back at the surface, okay, the nitrogen that return to the lung from the tissues found a different situation, because in this case we have few blood in the lung, because we come back at the surface and the blood shift is come back in the periphery. Okay? In this case, a few molecular of nitrogen came back to the lung. Okay? So the difference is that in this situation at the surface, I need more time to release the nitrogen that we uptake at the bottom. Okay? And in fact, several people said that we need to stay 3 times or 4 times at the surface to release the nitrogen that we uptake at the bottom. Is clear? Do you understand? Okay, so now we are sure high bubble grade can we found in breathable diver? Because now we have the proof. The next month we came back in the swimming pool with 10 or 20 people that previously had one Taravana and checked 20 people, because one is obviously not important to publication, and probably the mechanism of Taravana is similar to DCI, is the bubble, is the cause, okay, but the mechanism that we accumulate nitrogen probably is different, and for this is very important we can use the normal algorithm to calculate it. So, I hope that you understand my Italian English. Max, please, if you have some question, Max, help me.
You've had a few instances of acute pulmonary edema in triathletes.
Yeah?
You're proposing it's the same mechanism as
Yeah. In this case, in swimming, in rugby, the problem is the very hard muscle effort. In all these cases, we have a sudden increase of pressure in the lung, and in predisposed subject, and in not predisposed problem, in predisposed subject, you can have some water or some fluid that across. Usually, this water is not plasma, but for the mechanism is very particular, very different than the mechanism that we can have in cardiogenic edema. Because in this case we have an ultrastructural modification of the wall of the capillary, and we can pass also the hematsia. Okay? In fact, we found blood in the saliva, not fluid. Okay, this point is very important. The mechanism is similar. In high altitude, for instance, we have one very easy situation. You breathe the air, but the air is not, we have a lot of oxygen in high altitude. So the lung move their functionality, okay, and put all the blood in some small part of the lung. In this small part, the pressure increase, and we have edema. Okay, it's similar to black sheath, but it's different the etiology.
Danilo, during breathable diving, one of the phenomena is the central pooling of blood in the chest, in the azygos system. In the azygos veins.
Yeah.
Is there any possible mechanism that you are aware of that nitrogen can be transferred directly into the azygos system? We are assuming it goes systemic and back. My question is it possible with pooling in the chest, with high nitrogen partial pressure, for it to go directly into the azygos system, and then...
Yes. It's a good way. And I remember some years ago, I studied something about the possibility. This is a very good idea, because I remember that some people have some modification, for natural modification, and the most part of the return, venous return, I don't know in English, pass all of this. Probably this is interesting to study previously this year with this way. Very good. Oh, I understand.
Sorry, could you just tell us, for those who don't know the term, what is
explain.
Okay, in simple terms, your lungs have a circulation in addition to the oxygen uptake system. In other words, they have a nutritive flow and a venous return.
Oh, so there's that part of the systemic flow?
Well, it's pulmonary, but it is systemic.
Yes.
So it's part of the systemic circulation.
The gas transfer part.
Correct.
Although presumably gas transfer will occur to it because it
That
happens
was my question, whether the proximity in the unusual situation of intrathoracic pooling of blood might actually permit a diffusion-related shunt rather than a circulation-related shunt, which is what we do here. Let's not get too complicated.
I would like only remind you one thing. We performed a study about if this change occurs when we go very deep or only when we go deep 1 meter, 2 meters. The majority of the changes is in the few meters, obviously, for the increase of pressure, and you can have some pulmonary edema also in swimming pool, especially if you perform the sun diving in swimming pool 3-4 meters deep in isolation. Okay, as isolation, without breathing before. Okay, in the case you can have an increase of this problem. It's important because several recommend use this technique to training, but it's very, very dangerous. And there is several publications for Peter Lindholm about this. Okay, thank you.